Hello, Rachel here. How is everyone? So this video is in response to a viewer request. So this is going to highlight the decks that I mentioned in my, oh, what the heck? What was the name of the video? Only 10 mass market decks. So at the end, I mentioned some runners up because it's really hard, as you know, to choose 10. And so, yeah, I thought, why not? Why not? I have time. My daughter has been away today. So, yeah, let's just go. So we're going to start with the Japaridze. Okay. So I'm actually I think I'm going to go through this whole deck actually because it deserves like a walkthrough, and I'll try not to be too long-winded. But this was a deck that came into my collection when it was still very small. My collection was still very small. So in other words, I was extremely selective in what I purchased and what I brought into the house. At that time, not only was I I was better with my money, but I also didn't have as much. But not only that, I had no intentions of really starting a collection because I already had too many books. And when I say too many books, I mean I have hundreds. I don't know how many books are in the house. I don't know, probably like 1,000 or close to it or something. But anyway, we're not talking about books. We're talking about decks. So this is the Japaridze Tarot. If I didn't mention it, I have no idea. I'm like all over the place today. Crazy energy. US Games deck. This is by the surrealist Nino Japaridze. She was born in Georgia and she lives in Paris, France. So she's a French citizen. This was a deck that was commissioned by an admirer of her work. I think it was probably this Steve Lucas. I don't know anything about him. Anyway, so long story short, this was a commission, and the artist, Nino, she wasn't someone who had been studying tarot or esoterics, really, as far as I know. She had to research and study tarot before working on the deck. So it is an artist deck. And what caught my eye about it was, well, it was so different, and I wanted something apart from the traditional imagery, which my collection at that time was all very traditional. Like I had the Centennial, and I had the Aquarian, and like this Arthurian deck and the Morgan Greer. But I wanted something else that got me to think about things differently. So not very articulate. I'm getting tired. It's really late at night. But anyway, this Fool card here. So this wasn't a card that I was too crazy about at first. This Magician card I absolutely love. I love this. So these are also like, the medium is mixed media. There's watercolor, ink, and some of them are also collaged. Like this one here is definitely mixed media. It's like collage and watercolor and whatnot. It's really evocative. Like this deck is very evocative. That's what I was after. Like, look at this Empress card. I wasn't sure what I thought of it. I know a lot of people have a problem with this, this Emperor card. But whatever, I decided, there were a few cards I was unsure of, and I decided in the end, I'm going to let the artist speak for herself, and maybe that will expand my understanding of tarot. I love this because I love bats. And that was one of the things that was a deal breaker for me. I love bats. Love. It's just, yeah, it's such a unique deck. I was so intrigued by it and so excited. This Hermit card. Oh my gosh, check that out. Yeah, I love the Death card. So yeah, I love this Devil here. I'm trying not to talk too much because my my throat keeps drying up. I thought that I was done coughing, but I've noticed I've been like reading to my daughter at night. We've been reading Greek myths, and if I have to talk for an extended amount of time, I get that dry cough, and it's just impossible. This is one of my favorite Tower cards. It brings to mind somehow Stravinsky for me. I think this was the first card that the artist painted for the deck. Now this Moon card was one that I was unsure of at the time. Because, you know, it's quite gruesome. But I decided, you know, it was like what I mentioned before, I'm just going to allow the artist's vision to just speak for itself. It's her work. It's not my work. I'm not going to tell her how to depict something. And I'm going to respect it. So, you know, what's funny is after time working with the deck, this actually became one of my favorite Moon cards. It just really makes me think. It's so evocative. And I love this Sun card. I just love this. Look at this. So now we have the minors. I tried to put this in some sort of order so that maybe you get like a better sense of the deck. It's such a sad Five of Cups. Oh, that collage and ink and watercolor. I love it. Such a talented artist. I love this Eight of Cups. Beautiful. So another thing that people don't like about the deck is the clowns. So, I mean, I wasn't sure about a couple of them. I mean, I'm not afraid of clowns. I assure you guys, like, I'm not afraid of clowns, okay? No, I'm just kidding. No, I know some people are. I'm just being a jerk. I'm not afraid of clowns. It's so funny because the episode of Frasier was just on like last night about the client who was afraid of clowns. Why am I talking about Frasier? I love the strangers in this deck are knights, and I just love this. I love the knights in this deck. They're so weird, but oh my gosh. It's just wild. I don't know. There's so much to think about. Surreal. Literally. Queen and the king. Now we have the fire suit. Wands. Love it. Just love it. The Two of Wands. I mean, of course, it's the box. So if you weren't attracted to this, you know, you weren't. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But yeah. I love that. I love that. What was that movie, that Jason and the Argonauts, I think? And this Seven of Wands, years ago, when I feel like I was still learning a lot, this card made me see the Seven of Wands in a new light, based off of a reading I had done. And then I actually, I took some time and actually sketched this in my journal, and my boyfriend was like, "Oh, is that me?" Okay, so I am a sucker for a volcano. I love volcanoes. Three-cornered hats and volcanoes. If you want to know about me. No, I love volcanoes. I love this Nine of Wands. It's just such a neat deck. Yeah. This is beautiful. She's beautiful too. This is one of my favorite King of Wands ever. He is sexy. I don't know. The King of Wands is hot. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I love him. Now we have the swords, which we're back to our bats. Oh. Yeah, I used to get this card a lot. I love this Ten of Swords, all the bats in the tree. Oh my god. I got this card all the time. And I developed a weird relationship with this deck. It's what I meant to say in the beginning. I don't know exactly what was going on, but for a time, I didn't want to look at this deck at all. I loved it. I was learning with it. I mean, I keep saying this. It keeps coming up that I keep talking about how I was going through a rough time. But a lot of these decks that I've talked about were just part of my journey. And it's just necessary to say so, I guess, to explain myself. But I was going through a very difficult time. So I got, this is the page. Actually, it's supposed to be this way. This is the page and also the knight. But more so the page I got constantly. But not just in this deck, in every deck. The Page of Swords was stalking me. During the time of filing for divorce and stuff. And then in this particular deck, I don't know why, but all of the courts, all of the courts, the swords, I got the king and the queen, constantly. And I think maybe that's what did it for me, as I was just maybe I was thinking that the deck wasn't working for me, that it was stuck, because I'd use other decks and get different cards. It was crazy. But then I was going through an even more difficult time, And I picked this deck back up again, and I realized, like, wow, this deck really is a clear reader for me. There's a few decks that are like that, like the Albano is another one that I've mentioned before, where everything I was drawing was just spot on accurate. It happens sometimes with decks. It wasn't such a negative reception that I was considering parting with it. No, I respect it too much. And even if I wasn't going to use it as a deck, I could still admire the art. But it was just, yeah. So I've had an interesting journey with this deck. But yeah, it's been through some trials and it's come through, and it's definitely something that belongs in my collection and brings something new and powerful to the table for me. So, all right, there is the Japaridze. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've heard it pronounced all different ways. And then the guidebook is nice. I mean, there's not a lot, but if you are after the deck for the art, which you probably should be, it's nice that you have these full color pictures here that are actually larger than the cards. So that is the Japaridze US Games. It was out of print for a minute, but it's back. And it's like a standard price. I think it's like 29 bucks or something. So the other ones that were in the runners-up, like, okay, the Morgan Greer. I'm not going to talk about this too much because I think I mentioned it in my only 10 decks. But this is just a fabulous Rider-Waite clone. Sorry, I'm like, you can't even see the cards. I have a very special relationship with this deck. It was what I consider my first deck. So I was looking at tarot decks for quite a while, trying to choose one, So, of course, this is always going to be a favorite, considering it won out over so many. This was one of the first tarot cards I ever connected with, the Tower, this particular Tower card. Yeah, what I used to do with my deck, it's weird. I didn't think I was actually going to learn tarot. Of course, I was intrigued enough to go online and research the meanings of the cards and become intrigued. And of course, I connected with the Fool because I think everybody does, like when they're first starting, because that makes sense. But my premise in... This probably doesn't belong in this video. This probably belongs in like a My Tarot Journey video or something, but we're talking about this deck. So my premise in getting the deck was I was trying to get over my inhibitions when it came to art. My daughter was an infant and I just really felt like I needed to express myself, but I had too many inhibitions. I hadn't done any art in years, and I thought looking at a deck might, I don't know, that was my intention. And what I used to do with the decks is I would lay out some cards on my art table and just sort of, I don't know, you know what I was doing is I was creating an altar without realizing what I was doing, and it worked. And I would draw inspiration. I would use the Tower, I would use the Moon. What are some of the other cards? I don't know, we're not going to talk about that now, because that's not the point of this video. So the other deck one of the other decks I mentioned in, the only 10 mass markets is, of course, the Marielle. And this isn't the version that I showed in my only 10. Like in my only 10 decks, I showed the gilded edition, like this is the second edition. I prefer the other one, but this one was here. This is good too. But I still feel like they can't quite get the Marielle right when it comes to the card stock. Like there's this weird lip on all the cards. But do I really need to say anything about the Marielle? I mean, come on. This deck's amazing. It took me some time to buy it, as I was saying in another video, that I didn't think I was ready for it, as I wasn't. Yeah, there's like some nudity and stuff. I don't know if I can show that. Oh my God, that 10 of Cups. Yeah. So that is the Marielle. Okay, so another one that I want to talk about is the animal totem. So this is interesting because I am not an animal deck person, or I wasn't an animal deck person. And like, so I want to show you this book. It comes in a box like this. It's quite a nice, I know I'm too close to the camera. What am I doing? Seems like quite a nice book. I've looked through it a little bit. Anyway, so I think what it is I'd be online sometimes just browsing decks, and whenever I saw this, I'd find myself, I go, ooh, like I was attracted to it. And then I would go, Rachel, that's an animal deck. You don't do animal decks. Like, I love animals, but animal decks, I don't know, it just wasn't something that spoke to me. And then I was working with a book that some of the cards, the depictions, they would show art from several different tarot decks, and this was one of them. And more than one time as I was working through the book, I would be attracted to the cards, and I'd think, oh, what is that deck? I'm like, oh, it's the animal totem. Oh my gosh. That was tarot correspondences. So what happened was, we were at Barnes & Noble at this mall, the Prudential Center in Boston, and it was sad because that location was closing because they raised the rent, of course. And everything in the store was like, I don't know, like crazy sales, like 50% off, 30% off. The animal totem was there, and it was kind of impulsive, but I decided to buy it. I thought maybe my daughter would want it, but she was a little put off by some of the animal death that was depicted. And honestly, I was a little bit too. And then I thought, you know what? I'm okay with seeing it like human death, you know, in my other decks. So why not with animals? I think this deck is quite a true representation of their little animal world. I don't know. I mean, so anyway, I think I wanted to mention it because I think it's a really great deck, and I'll admit I haven't really worked with it yet, just because I got this like last spring or something, and then we had summer and we were just busy running around, and I bought some of these decks like in Salem and stuff because that's what I do. And I really wanted to work alongside the book with this, I think, and so sometimes it takes me longer to get into a deck if I'm working on other things. But yeah, this I love the art, okay? Like, I just feel it's one of those decks that I feel like pulled into the image. They just feel like very real settings to me. And it's not like a cutesy animal deck. Which, like I said, is not usually my thing. Even though if I think it's cute, I don't think I'm gonna really work with it. You know what I mean? But I think this is a really good deck, and I wanted to mention it. Like I said, the guidebook seems really good. I think I could learn from this deck. I actually do. It sounds funny coming from myself, listening to myself, like from my own bias. It sounds funny to say that, but I do. I think that I could learn from this deck. And I do really love the art. It's beautiful. I'll try to go a little bit more quickly here. Mixie, oh. But I read about this card, Five of Cups. I have quite a relationship with Five of Cups. When I read about the card, it, I don't know, I really appreciated it, actually. It softened the, I don't know, the aversion that I had to it. Like, nobody likes to see, like, you know, dead animals. Anyway. It's so beautiful. Five of Wands. My daughter loves that card, the Honey Badger. Because that's me. Like, that's supposed to be my birth card. Five of Wands. Yeah, I'm sort of like flipping through this whole deck, but whatever. I love this Ten of Wands. That's so funny because I was just showing the Ten of Wands in the Vacata Tarot, and it had snails on it. So yeah, I love that. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that is the animal totem. Oh, hermit crab. Yeah, almost done here. So, the other one I mentioned was the William Blake. I had been looking at this deck for a really long time, like before that they had reprinted it. And when I found out that they had, I was just, oh my God, so excited. So, yeah, this is just, oh my God, an amazing deck. It's really, I can't figure out some of them though. Like, there's a couple of, I had figured out like what the suits were. Like, you know, they, instead of wands and cups and swords and whatnot, they have like music, poetry, science, and I had figured it out. Like, I figured out which one was which, but even so, some of the meanings didn't line up for me. And so I was like, you know, so this deck kind of has like a semi-oracle feel to it, you know, in that regard. I love they have his like writings alongside the art. It speaks to me a lot more than a lot of his straight up poetry does. I think I talked about this in one of my at present videos, that I love William Blake. I love who he was and what he believed, but some of his poetry, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just poetry is so subjective, and a lot of it just wasn't something that was really, something that wasn't really resonating with me. It just wasn't making me sigh. You know what I mean? Like, I love to be swept away by poetry. You know what I mean? But yeah, this deck, like his words, like alongside this art, really does, like, really speaks to me. His visual art does move me. Yeah, I have an interesting relationship with poetry. Much of my favorite poetry is in translation. I think about translation a lot, like a lot, and I could go off on a tangent right now, but I'm not going to. Anyway, it's an art form. I'll probably end up talking about it in some other video. Anyway, okay. I love the William Blake. And then we have the Touchstone, which I could also include the Golden Tarot, also by Cat Black, but I'm just going to go with the Touchstone for now. So this was a deck, another one that for a very long time was out of print, and US Games reprinted it in 2020. And I was really, really excited, and I actually have a backup of this deck because I was worried that it would go out of print again. And, you know, it has like this gilding on it and stuff, and I didn't know it was going to chip. Elizabeth. So, I mean, I probably don't need to say much about this deck either. Most of you know this, but it is gorgeous. Like these collages, they're seamless. I mean, look at this. This is the body of Queen Elizabeth when she was young. And the face, I forget who the artist is, but I know the painting. Everything in here is from something from that time. You know, like the 1500s, around that time. Every single thing, like even this wand here. And the books, also, I say books because it's the same with the Golden Tarot. You know the Golden Tarot. This guy here. All of the art is cited, it's credited. So you can look them up, which I just love. See, like this is all of the sources for the Three of Swords. Down to the sword hilt. It's amazing. And I love this subtle, like, color coding in the suits. You see this dark blue, this beautiful blue for the cups. And this green. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Trying to find like some of my favorite cards. Come on. There was something I was looking for. That's beautiful. Oh. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you all know this deck. I love that. Henry VII. I love that. Beautiful Nine of Coins. Yeah. Love the moon. All right. So, did I show everything that I mentioned in the video? I think so. So, yeah, as I was saying, I am so tired. It's, I've had a long day and I worked out like really hard and it's really late at night. So I hope that that made sense and I didn't sound too groggy. But anyway, thank you for tuning in and that's about it. All right, bye.